Hello and welcome. My name is Xander. I will be your instructor through this tutorial. Now, this tutorial is actually part of a whole course which you can access the first stages for free here on YouTube. Now, in this tutorial, I might mention resources and other tutorials. Do check out the link in the video description, which will take you to the playlist, and also there will be a link to the resources so that you can access and follow along here on YouTube. Now, if you like this course, you found it useful, and you want to take that next step, you can find this course over at Udemy. All the links to the resources can be found in the video description. Now, don't forget, also subscribe to the channel for weekly promotions, discounts, and free course giveaways. Once we have created a database, we then need to populate it with data. Now, depending on your scenario, you may have pre-existing data you want to fit into your database, or else you want to set up an application or create some way of inserting new data into your tables. The SQL insert statement is essential because it allows us to add new records to the database, which is, of course, crucial for managing dynamic data. Without insert, a database would be static and unchangeable. The insert statement in SQL is used to add new rows into the table. It is one of the fundamental data manipulation language commands, DML, commands in SQL. So the basic syntax of insert statement is insert into. So typically we specify what table we want to insert data into. Now, typically we use the insert statement to insert into a single database. So if you wanted to insert into multiple databases, you would need to generate multiple insert statements. If we take a look at the basic syntax of the insert statement, you can see that we use the keyword insert and then the keyword into, and then specify the table name. Okay, the table or the name of the table where data will be inserted. And then we can specify the columns. So we specify which columns we want to insert data into, and then we need to provide the values, the data that we're going to insert into those columns to make a new row into the specified table. So we provide values for the specified columns in the same order that we specified the columns. So value 1 here would be inserted into column 1, and so on. Value 2 would be inserted into column 2. Now, it is possible to insert into all columns, so you don't necessarily have to specify the columns when you want to use them all. So if you want to insert data into all columns, you can just simply omit the column names. Just don't forget that the values must be provided in the exact order in which the columns are defined in the table schema. Now, before we insert data into any table, we are going to need to identify the fields that we need to populate in the table. Now, of course, remember, some of these fields will be null, will be set to not null. So there will be mandatory fields which we need to fill when creating a new row, and some that we can omit. The ERD provides us a limited set of information. Of course, if you do have a data dictionary, that should provide you a much clearer view of exactly what's required when inserting data into a particular table, including, for example, the max length of values that can be inserted, as well as if the field can be null or not. Of course, it is also useful to know the data types so that you can match the data appropriately to the fields that you're trying to populate when you create a new row. Now, alternatively, of course, you can log into your database. That's where we are currently here. If you have forgotten how to do that, do check out the previous tutorial where we logged in. And from there, we can use DT. That will give us a list of all of the tables. And then we can, of course, drill down further and select a table. So let's take a look at the category table. So here you can see the columns, the types, whether they're null or not, and any default values that might be useful, as well as any constraints. Remember, there may be other constraints on the table that you may need to explore before you start inserting data. Now, typically when we insert data, we won't insert into the primary key. In this case, it is an auto-generating number, auto-incrementing number, so we don't need to require the primary key. We may require any foreign keys. So it looks like here, although the parent ID actually is optional, so we don't need to specify that in this case. So in order to create a new record for this table, and this applies to all the tables, we won't work through every table. We're just looking at this table, and you can apply this knowledge to other tables. We are going to need to supply the name, the slug. We can optionally supply is active or not. It will be set to default, false by default. And we can also supply the level, although there is a default value. As I mentioned previously, we can insert into the table by simply specifying the values as long as we match them to the fields in order of our table. So here in the category table, we have ID, parent ID, name, slug is active, level, constraint at the end here. Obviously, that's not a field. So we need to match this up to our data. So the first is ID, which is a primary key, auto incrementing. So here, importantly, I've used the word default, which should use the auto generating ID tools because that is the default for that field. Next, we have null. Okay, so we don't have parent ID, so we should be able to set that to null. And then we go ahead and add all the other fields. So this is the category name, the slug, this is the is active field, and then level. Right, so with that in place, let's see if we can give that a go. And there we go. So we're now inserted into the category table. Now, although we will learn how to select data or view the data into the tables later on, let's just use a simple select statement for now. So this is going to allow us to return data from a table. So here I use select and then all. So the star represents all from category. So we'll learn more about this later, but we will use select statements so that we can actually view what we've actually inserted into the table. Don't forget the semicolon, apologies. And there we go. So that's what we have just inserted into our database. Notice the auto incrementing ID. So if we go ahead and run this again, but this time let's just change the data to something else, because remember it needs to be unique. We have something else now inserted. Let's run the select statement again. And a bit further down here, you can now see we have 2 rows. We have the auto incrementing ID in place. What we can do now is start to explore some of the constraints that we configured. One of them was the fact that although we set the name to not null, so we had to supply a value when inserting a new row. Remember I said that we could still insert an empty string, but we set up a constraint to prevent that. So let's see that in action. Now we need to remember to keep changing the data, otherwise we will cause an error because we can't duplicate the data in our tables. Right, so this time we're going to try to insert an empty string for where the name is going to be supplied. So let's run this and see if we can return the error. So we do. We return the error, and that violates our check constraint. And that's the name of our check constraint. The slug cannot be empty, or in actual fact, the slug cannot have an empty string. So let's just double check that. So check slug category not empty. So that matches our constraint. So that just protects us from accidentally inserting an empty string into the name field, although it should be set to not null. Not null and empty strings are 2 different concepts here in databases. So if we try to insert null into the name field, let's give that a go. That should cause a completely different error. There we go. So it violates the not null constraint. Now, what is probably more common is that you will use the insert into and specify the actual field names. So here, let's take a look at that pattern. You can see it's insert into the table as we specified. Then we're going to specify the fields. Now here, we don't need to specify the fields that will be auto-populated, like the primary key, or where the fields are not necessarily required, so they can be null, like in this case, in this table, the foreign key that we have. So you can see that we're going to try and supply a value into name, slug, is active, and level. And then, like I said, you just need to make sure that you match up the values in order in which you defined the category fields. So if we give this a go, remember that we have some data already in the database. We're going to need to make some changes here to make sure that we don't add any duplicates. So if we add that in, there we go. So we'll quickly run our select statement again. Select all from the category table. Keep forgetting the semicolon. And there we go. So we do have the record that we have just inserted. Now, although in this database we only use the timestamp, you may need to insert into different types of time or date fields. So this table gives you an indication of the data shape that you need to construct in order to insert into the different data types. So here in this database, we are using the timestamp. So the format here is year, month, day, and then hour, minute, and seconds. So that's the standard format to insert into a timestamp. And you can see with the timestamp, with the time zone, you will need the additional +00 to indicate the number of the time zone. And then we have the date and time. So you can clearly, hopefully, see the year, the month, and the day. And with the time, it's going to be hours, minutes, and seconds. You can, like the timestamp, also use time with time zone. And you can see here the plus and then the digits. That is going to represent the time with the time zone offset. Okay, so I've created some data. Let's see if we can insert into a table with a timestamp. That is the promotion events table. So if we'll have a look at this, we have the start date and end date. Let's see if we can insert. So I've loaded up the different fields that is required for us to insert, and then we'll go ahead and add the values and take a look. So we're going to need a select for that again. Select all from, this time it's going to be the promotion events. Keep forgetting the semicolon, and there we go. Now, the promotion events table, we are meant to supply a start and end date because we would need to generate that ourselves based upon our requirements for our promotion. But of course, there are fields where we've automatically generated the time date or the date time using the now function. We'll take a look at that in action when we discuss inserting data into tables with foreign keys. But for now, we have an example where we have to supply the data for the time date. Now, something that you may catch me saying is time date. You'll notice that the timestamp does supply the date first. So typically we refer to this as date time rather than time date. But for some reason, my brain is hardwired to say the time first and then the date. I'm not too sure why. Don't know how it started, but I always tend to do it. Right, so we now have the skills to insert into category, users, stock management, promotion events. Let's not forget some of these other tables, they do have dependencies, relationships, so they will require us to insert into the related table before, for example, we insert into the products table. So let's skip that for now. We will look at that later on in this module. But if you do have a little bit of time, then do check out the other tables, look at some of the constraints that we applied in the previous modules, explore that further and fully immerse yourself and familiarize yourself with inserting into other tables. In this tutorial, we learned how to use insert or the insert statement to add new records or rows into a table. We learned that we can insert by simply specifying the values, but they must be in order in which the database tables are created. And we can also insert by specifying the column names, but we need to make sure that the values match the column names as we supply them into the insert statement. In this tutorial, we did focus in on inserting single records into a table. We will learn how to insert bulk records, as well as how to insert where we may have foreign keys, one-to-one, many-to-many relationships.